started somewhere else. It started with skateboarding, snowboarding.
Yeah, that was my first passion.
Okay, so how did that evolve into? I mean, maybe not where you are now because that's probably a much longer story. But how did that evolve into music and hip hop and producing your own beats and all that kind of stuff?
I mean, first and foremost, I think skateboarding taught me that entrepreneurship, taught me about branding, taught me about marketing, taught me about building a persona of a lifestyle. And like I would look up to these skateboarders in the same way that I look up to rappers now, and like same way that kids look up to musicians. I was looking up to these skateboarders, not even just the way they skate, but the music they listen to and the clothes they wear and all these different things like that really inspired me to be an individual and pursue my passions. And then I found out about hip hop through skate videos. So I started listening to underground like hip hop, such as like Dilated Peoples and things like that I would hear in skate videos, and I just got hooked on that. And I loved the way they would like chop the edits to where like the tricks would land right on the snare and things like that. So I started like being more interested in the music side rather than it just background music. I started being really fascinated by the music thing, and then skateboarding I sort of started phasing out after a few injuries. I started feeling like I wasn't as good anymore and wasn't trying to throw myself down handrails as much anymore. And so I started kind of stepping back a little bit and just skating for fun. And then during that time, I kind of started freestyling with my homies and spitting raps for fun, just like to be silly at first.
Yeah.
And then through that, like goofing around, I just found a passion in it.
Was it someone that told you were good at it, or did you just have like a confidence in the back of your head?
I think it was a mixture of both for sure. I think I naively thought I was way better than I really was. So otherwise I wouldn't have never pursued it. If I like really listened to myself as like subjectively as I do now, back then I would have never pursued it because I would have just been like, man, I suck. So I think that's good advice for anything. Just like if you love something, just be willing to suck at it. Anything that's worth doing is worth doing poorly at first.
You're going to start at the bottom regardless of what you do anyways, right? Like whether it's a new job or whether it's maybe jujitsu or this, for example. Like this is something I've done for a long time, but just a straight interview process is something I'm going to have to learn and get used to instead of just having a conversation. Maybe that's what it'll evolve into is just the conversation. As I have more conversations with people like you, I'll be able to bring more and more to the table as far as like what I've learned about the definition of passion and how it kind of enacts us and gets us going in certain ways that most people don't see on a daily basis, I guess, because most people don't see the I don't want to call it, I mean, it's cliche, but the grind that goes into things or the process that goes into actually getting to a point where you can put your stuff out there, put yourself, the confidence that you have to have in yourself, or maybe the naivety that you have to have in yourself just to throw yourself out there and say to the world. And I think that gets back to one of the things I was thinking about. One of the things that I know that I went through when I was trying to put all this together was just a fear of, I mean, I have countless hours of recorded stuff that I just won't put out there because I'm fearful that it won't be received the wrong way. So how did you, I guess that's kind of the next evolution, is how did you get past that initial fear of like not being good enough? Or do you think it's just something that you already had in you?
Well, when I first started, I actually didn't have that fear.
Okay.
I developed that fear later on after I developed some type of recognition.
Yeah.
But when I first started, I literally didn't know anyone that had ever made a beat before. Okay. I didn't know anyone that had recorded a song or wrote a rap or anything or performed a show before. So in my circle, in my small little part of town, I really was like the best hip-hop artist, even though there wasn't really any other hip-hop artist to compare to. But like that was a blessing because it made me think I could do this, because my friends who were just doing it for fun were like, yo, you're actually really good at this, bro.
Yeah.
And like they didn't have any real perspective on what good was. Like if they knew, you know, like I really wasn't good. They were honestly like a lot of my friends that were doing it as a joke were more like talented by nature than I was. You know, they had better rhythm and better patterns and better understanding of music. I just never been around music at all, and but I had more of a passion for it than they
Okay.
did. So like, I had friends that were classically trained pianists, or
Yep.
that could sing like
Yeah.
super well, or that had every instrument. I had a friend that had a whole studio in his basement, and they never did anything with their music, and I
Yep.
had like nothing, no background, no experience, no connections, and I just had such a strong desire. So I think a desire to do something will always outweigh like the resources that someone has.
Yeah. So how has that fear played in afterwards? Is it because you now have a sound, now you have a name, and it's more or less like, I don't want to diminish what I've already done?
Right. Yeah. So after a few years into it, I started getting a little bit of recognition. I started developing some clout in the city, in the underground hip hop scene, and I started being known as like one of the top dudes in my niche.
Yeah.
And so that kind of developed some pressure within myself to like try to live up to the hype, or try to like, if I'm sitting there when I'm opening for Snoop Dogg and these big names and playing these huge shows, that like I'm looking out at the crowd and I know there's like 300 people in the crowd that like think they should be in the spot that I'm at, and they should be on stage and not me, and they're looking at me like, why does this kid deserve it?
Yep.
And so it's like humbling to me to be like, I have to like constantly re-earn my success. There's a quote that I heard that's like, success is not owned, it's leased, and rent is due every day.
that's
And
that's
so
good.
I live by that, and I feel like, I kind of started feeling this pressure and this fear to like put out a certain quality, or constantly progress. Like when you're coming out of nowhere and no one's expecting anything from you, you do anything, and your friends and everyone's like, oh, this is awesome, just the fact that I even recorded a song.
Yeah.
But then once you got several albums out and you're like known as this dude and you're getting paid for it and stuff, it's like just putting out a song isn't really going to impress anybody.
Yeah. So how have you dealt with that? What are the processes you go through to like get over because obviously you're pushing through all of these same things that have halted me in my tracks, definitely, and I know plenty of people who get halted way before even someone like me would get stopped. Like, what are the things that keep pushing you through every single one of these barriers? Because it seems like almost every day you're coming out with maybe not new music, but you have, I mean, there's always something coming from your end, it seems like, whether it's a beat, whether it's just some positive vibes into the world, whether it's a new album or new music. What is it that keeps you pushing through all of the, not just fear, but the roadblocks that come up every single day?
I think I've just really been studying confidence and studying confident people and studying courage, and like listening to a lot of podcasts and YouTube shows, and like surrounding myself with inspiring, positive influences, even if they're not in my life physically. Like I have like a mastermind network of mentors in my head that is people I study online, and I listen to their podcasts, and I devour their content, and I know their mentality, and they're in my ear hours and hours a day telling me you can do it, telling me chase your dreams, telling me go for your passion, telling me not to give up, telling me to keep pushing through and not care what other people think, and all that really helps a lot. And then but that's only part of it. The thing that really helps the most is actually just doing it. Like every time I'm scared to put out a video or a song, or like I want to record a podcast or record a video series on my tips for this and that, like there's always this fear that comes up, and I always feel like it's not gonna be good enough, or someone's gonna judge me, or who am I to do this or whatever. And then like when I just do it anyway and put it out, then I feel like way better, and it gives me this momentum. And if I just keep that momentum up, then the fear kind of starts to subside a little.
That's definitely one of that's one that I've gotten a lot lately in my own head, is like, who am I to put this out there? And at the end of the day, I was like, well, I am the person who has been around all of these people for a long time now. And if there's one thing I know, it's that as soon as I started reaching out, everybody started getting back to me ASAP. I didn't even wait 20 minutes before you got back to me.
Yeah.
And I haven't talked to you in probably 2 years.
Yeah.
And so that made me feel a lot better. Like, there are a couple things that you said there. Like, the first was from a book called The Alchemist, which I'm sure you've read,
Yep.
which is when you decide to do something, everything in the universe will conspire to help you achieve whatever it is you're trying to get. But the second thing was the voices in your head was from a book we were talking about on the way over here. That Think and Grow Rich book by Napoleon Hill was building that like kind of boardroom of historical people, or it's not even historical, just whoever it is that inspires you, kind of go out, get to know them so well that you can create in your head what their answers to your questions would be.
Exactly.
And that's something that I think is really valuable to have, is because like you could have anybody from 5,000 BC up till today. If there's enough information on them, you can try and build out who.
I take advice from Seneca, who's a Stoic philosopher that's been dead for ages, and then a lot of advice from Gary Vaynerchuk, who's just like a forefront entrepreneur, killing it right now, like rock star entrepreneur, and like you said, asking questions to see like what they would answer actually works. Like I'll write out a question of a problem I'm having and pretend that I'm asking Gary Vaynerchuk, like I'm sitting down with Gary Vaynerchuk or Tony Robbins or whoever right now, and I'm about to ask them this question, and I almost always get like this immediate answer in my head because I know their philosophy so well of like, this is exactly what he would tell me to do. Like, I don't even know why I'm asking this, because I already know what his advice would be. Like,
I was going to write him an email, but he's in my head right now.
I already know what he's going to tell me to do. So, like, that helps a lot. And then I think just, like, you're never going to get confident just by, like, you're not going to do something like once you get confident, you're going to get confident once you do it. So just do it, and then you'll feel better, and the fear will go away after you do it. And just, like, the fear's not going to go away, so you can't wait until you feel confident or fearless to try something. You have to do it while you're scared. Like, that's like the definition of courage, is like taking action even though you are scared. Even though you do feel like people are going to judge you, you do it anyway. And that builds like the confidence muscles up.
Okay. So do you think that as far as like your process, as you've gone on, obviously it's gotten more refined, and it's gotten where do you think all of that, I guess, where do you think all of that comes from? Where do you think that in your gut? Is it from your gut? Is it from, like, does anything from the outside world inspire you? Do people who say you can't do something inspire you, or do you not need that type of, because that's also something I've been playing with, is like, I've had people tell me, you can't do this because of X, Y, and Z, but it's like, I've also heard that, like, the most successful people don't give a shit about any of that kind of stuff. Like, they just, all they need is, like, who they're going to be tomorrow is the only thing that keeps motivating them. It's like, I don't need anybody. I don't even pay attention to the people outside. So where do you kind of fall on that line? Is it?
Yeah, I've recently implemented an 80-20 rule in this, where I spend 80% of my time completely focused on the beautiful things and the inspiring things and the good that I want to do in the world, and like the person that I want to be and the impact that I want to make. So that's 80% of my mind is thinking like, I want to be successful so I can help people. I want to be successful so I can give back. I want to reach my potential so I can be a good role model and inspire others and uplift humanity. And then 20% of my time is like, yo, I just want to prove these motherfuckers wrong. Anyone that doubts me, like, fuck you. And like, that's like dangerous if you're too much on that side. Like in Star Wars, like the dark side is super powerful, and like the hate and all that makes you stronger. But then that can ultimately lead to your downfall if you go completely on the dark side. So like, I think 20% of my time is spent like being inspired and motivated by the people that really don't think I deserve to be where I'm at, or don't think I'm ever going to do something with my life, or like even my own family members. There's people that think I got my head in the clouds and that they're waiting for me to wake up and go get a real job, you know what I mean? And like, I can't wait to just pull up in a new car in their driveway and say like, yeah, I did this on my own terms, like, and throw it in their face a little bit. But that's just a small percentage of me. Most of it's because I want to inspire people.
Yeah. So that's another point I wanted to get to, because I think that a lot of this process has to do with mentoring people and always pulling up the people who are coming up behind you. I always got confused by kind of the way our world works, especially the Western world because it was always competition with each other, which I agree with. I think the competition is vital because